Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Bitcoin News Hour, brought to you by Cafe Bitcoin, the most active Bitcoin club on Clubhouse. During the Bitcoin News Hour, we will cover all the latest headlines in Bitcoin. But this isn't your normal network news show where they talk and you just listen. Today's headlines will be presented and discussed by you, the members of Cafe Bitcoin. To participate in the Bitcoin News Hour, simply change your avatar to the headline you'd like to talk about. Today's moderators will then bring you up from the audience. You'll get 1 to 2 minutes to introduce the headline and give everyone the gist of the story. And then everyone will discuss the news before we move on to the next headline. Now, before we get started, do us a favor and click the plus sign at the bottom right of your screen to invite anyone you know who might enjoy this show. And if you're new to Cafe Bitcoin, click on Cafe Bitcoin at the top left and join the club. You can also visit cafebitcoin.club to find our full schedule of events, as well as a fantastic list of beginner Bitcoin resources. And now, get your headlines ready because it's time for the Bitcoin News Hour.
All right, guys, you know the name of the game. We're all going to cheat off each other for like an hour. John and Mav are trying to pull you guys up. I don't know why that's not working. There it goes. Sean's on the phone, or I'm not sure if he's still on the phone. Sean, are you still on the phone? Are you there, partner? You want to jump in with your story? Oops, there he goes. Sean, you there?
Yeah, I'm just on a call here. Can you skip?
Yeah, no worries. KP, do you want to tell your story? Share your headline?
Yeah, so this is a headline from India. India's central bank owns a retail payments platform. It refuses to ban crypto transactions, and this is called NPCI. It's a payment corporation. It is sort of like owned by the central bank. It's a payment system of the central bank. So this is very interesting. They basically, some of the bankers, the commercial banks apparently had asked the agency to block crypto transactions on their network. And this agency, which is a central bank agency, they basically told them that you need to go figure out with your own legal and compliance department whether you should be blocking these transactions on your own system. We have got nothing to do with this, and they are not going to block the crypto transaction. So it's a pretty interesting move, basically. Puts probably the whole India will ban crypto for a little bit weaker. We will see how this goes forward, but this is probably a great news for anybody in India who is, stacking and hodling.
Yeah, interesting story, especially with all the crazy government ban stories that have been coming out of India. I know Sunny Ray, who's on the platform a lot, and has shared kind of his unique story with Uno Coin. So interesting, KP. Hopefully, you can keep following the news in India and sharing that with us. Dustin, I saw you coming off mic. You want to share something?
Oh, I was just saying, cool.
There you have it, folks. Dustin, his hot
Whoa.
take. What's up, dude? I feel like I haven't seen you in a few days, man. How
Hey,
are you?
man, doing great. How you doing?
I'm good, man. I'm good. I'm almost back on the mend. My eyeball doesn't hurt, but it doesn't work
What
either.
happened to your
So
eyeball?
hopefully I'll
That
be able to
sucks.
see again. It's all good, man. Just friendly fire, friendly fire.
Little too much excitement in the bedroom?
Not that friendly fire, but we're getting close. Get Michael up here. And while we do that, hey, Bitcoin Chris, do you want to jump in with your story, partner? I think Sean still might be working. Yeah, I can't see any news story, so I have no idea. Like, I'm not introducing anything.
Yeah, you're good.
I just see that it's.
Yeah, no problem. I'll go ahead and read this article. It is Square Bitcoin revenue grows 11x year over year. So Square's Cash App generated 3.51 billion of Bitcoin revenue in the first quarter of 2021. To make this short and sweet, this is why you see the banks jumping in. This is why they're doing a complete 180 switch. They see how much money that Square is making, how much money these banks can potentially make, and they're also going to be put out of business due to Bitcoin and DeFi that's coming up. So it's a lot of changes coming sooner than later. Yesterday, we in the newsroom we were talking about how over hundreds of banks are basically going to be allowing their customers to purchase Bitcoin right on their banking app or right at their right on the webpage. So all it is bullish news. Shout out to Square, and that's the news I got.
I had grabbed the same article, and there were a couple other cool things in there that were listed. Is one, Square's total revenue for the first quarter was $5 billion. 70% of that was accounted for from Bitcoin. So 70% of Square's $5 billion revenue is from Bitcoin. And then the other side of it is like Square's total has a total of they invested 50 million in Bitcoin and then invested another 170 million. So they invested 50 million Bitcoin 2020, 170 million 2021. So that's pretty small, investments to then, make billions off of it with selling in their app. But they're holding Bitcoin and plan to hold it long term. They quote.
Is there a more Bitcoin company than Square?
They did invent Moscow time, so
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, obviously. I mean, I'm talking publicly traded and not, cousin NVK.
There
how about like
there could be a more Bitcoin company than Square. For instance, if you look at Cash App and you look at their story of Satoshi Nakamoto, it's a very bad explanation of Bitcoin. It's not a bullish case. It has technical flaws. And it seems they aren't actually really investing that much of an effort to push people into Bitcoin. You can find a lot of people on Cash App who aren't even aware that the app allows them to buy.
Yet they still made 70% of their profit.
right?
You'd think they'd spend more of an effort going into that, given how profitable it is.
I don't know. I still love Square.
Actually,
Square.
yeah, to give them benefit of doubt, if you look at their shareholder report, which they published for first quarter, I think it's like 20 pages, and there are 27 instances of Bitcoin reference in that 20-page report. So, you got to give it to them. At least they are not basically shilling.
Who is more of a Bitcoin company? Is it GigaChad with the software company that buys a lot of Bitcoin?
But they don't really have any. It's not like a real company anymore. They're just a trade.
No, they have a real company. They make a profit.
Do they? MicroStrategy?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
All right, how many people knew who MicroStrategy was before August of 20?
I've been a MicroStrategy fan for 10 years. No, just kidding. Never heard of them.
Square. There you have it, folks. We all agree that Square is the most Bitcoin company on the planet. Michael agrees. No debate. All joking aside.
I will give them some slack for they said they're going to implement Lightning like over almost a year and a half ago, and they've dropped the ball on that. But I'm sure they'll pick it
Yeah,
up.
but Lightning said that for a while too, so there's that. I'm just kidding, but it's like Bitcoin doesn't move quick either. Like pretending like, yeah, I don't know. I don't know why and what, but I do think Square has been a net plus, a big net plus, and a big reason why we're looking at $60,000 Bitcoin. But what do I know? I'm just the hostess with the leastest, yo. Mav, I covered my eye. I can see it's you. Do you want to
Yeah,
share anything on this story, or do you
yeah.
want to take us to the next news story before we remind everyone that we are at the Bitcoin News Hour, where we cheat off each other so we don't have to read all the news and we catch up in an hour. So,
Yeah,
Mav,
let's
let's
cheat.
let's get caught up,
Yeah,
bro.
let's talk about this story because I don't think anybody's seen this one yet. It's a smaller story, but it's pretty interesting. So this company, METROMILE, they recently not IPO'd, but whatever. There was a SPAC that came onto the market as like a digital car insurance company. They basically said today that they will allow policyholders the option to pay for insurance and receive payments for claims in Bitcoin. or US dollars. But then they said that they're the first insurance company to both accept premiums and pay claims in crypto, in Bitcoin. And they're discussing, or they're in second quarter of this year, they're going to purchase about 10 million in Bitcoin as well to keep on their balance sheets. And they're saying that it's becoming a larger part of people's net worth, and that people are demanding ways to transact and use it. So pretty interesting. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, we hear you. I think we're trying to think of how to react
Yeah.
to it. I think it's one of those things where, it's got like some natural bullish inclinations where you got even conservative insurance companies are finding ways to transact with
Or
it.
Yeah,
they're
no,
like a
no.
And I
digital
think
This
one.
one,
like
this
9 months ago or 12 months ago, this would have been like a big news story. And now it's like bull run.
John,
KP?
the interesting thing on this, yeah, the interesting thing on this one is this is actually an insurance platform owner that basically supports pay per mile auto insurance. And imagine them converting this into, stream satoshis for pay per mile
That'd be a
driving
pretty cool
your
Lightning Network
cars.
application.
Exactly. So, this is catching on actually with a bunch of other insurance companies. They are experimenting with this, and this news is actually pretty bullish from use of the Bitcoin network versus just the asset part of it in the treasury. That is great, but like this is actually using the Bitcoin and Satoshis and streaming and Lightning technology. There is a potential for that. So this one is a pretty
Yeah, I
And
mean, the thing that like rocks my world, man, that's probably not the best phrasing for the Bitcoin News Hour, but well, the thing that really like gives me a lot of excitement for what's to come on the Bitcoin network is like all of the like possibilities that Lightning is going to enable. Like, there's so many businesses that are going to prop up. Like, there's probably going to be like hundreds of businesses that get launched as minds collaborate in Miami, and it's probably all going to be possible on Lightning, and probably wasn't possible on the base layer in for all types of reasons, technological or economic. Like, the idea of micropayments really changes so much for most any under industry, and in ways that we probably haven't thought of. Like, that's the thing that excites me most, or at least most next, in terms of what happens for Bitcoin and what impacts it has down.
they're going to be paying claims if the customer wants it in Bitcoin, which is the first of any insurance company to do
Are
so.
people going to start burning down their businesses again like they did in the 80s before the arson? All right, never mind.
Shit, they've been doing.
Rest in peace. Hey,
John,
go ahead, Sean.
I gotta leave pretty quick. So
Yeah,
if you want to
why don't
get
you go
mine
ahead
here,
with the mining story, man? And hopefully someone can do the Latin American Amazon story while Sean does that. I'm not looking for it or squinting.
hey guys. So your daily dose of bullish mining news. It might not seem bullish on the surface because Mara Pool, so Marathon, is a publicly traded mining company who control their own pool and are virtue signaling to add. Oh, the TLDR is that they want to able to be like the US dollar SWIFT payment system.
I can't tell if it's me or if it's Sean. Can you guys hear Sean
It's
coming through?
John.
Hey, Sean, I'm going to hit you on mute. If you have some time later, it sounds like you might be busy with work, but if you're still on in a little bit, feel free to jump back in. But it sounds like you might be getting mixed up with the Ether network, bro. Hey, D++ P, Alex. We're just talking about the news here. Can I get someone to pull up I can't tell, but can someone pull up the Latin American Amazon? I forgot the name of the company, but they bought
Mercado
some
Libre.
Bitcoin. Yeah. Um, Someone pull that up, hitting the next story with Michael already covered his story, I thought. No? Michael, did you cover your story? No, go ahead and jump in. You were just commenting on another story. Go ahead.
Yeah, so NYDIG says that Bitcoin is going to be coming to hundreds of banks this year. And that's in their interest to point to because they imagine themselves doing the custodying of that. They charge 30 basis points. So that'll be pretty interesting if we see bank accounts offering Bitcoin. I think we've seen in software in general that whenever you reduce the number of clicks to take a particular action, you see a huge jump in conversion rates. So I imagine that when people have Bitcoin natively within their bank account, they're going to be a lot more likely to just get off of zero because of that. My concerns with that would be, is that going to be something where people actually own their Bitcoin directly? Is it going to be, in some instances, in conjunction with a third-party exchange? Or is it going to end up like Robinhood or PayPal, where people don't actually own Bitcoin? And that could be pretty concerning if that then takes off at scale and it becomes the primary way that a lot of people own but not really own their Bitcoin. And it's sort of an easy way then for the government to seize it and say, oh, we're replacing it with this other stable coin or something like that. There really are, John, as you mentioned, Square is a top Bitcoin company, but the fact that they have so many flaws we can point to, it's just they're the top large Bitcoin company because they're the only large Bitcoin company. And so we really need Bitcoin native companies to fill these roles rather than allowing these legacy players to botch the process. I mean, it's quite likely that if they're adding Bitcoin, it's essentially going to be a shitcoin platform. It's going to be a regular bank account plus Coinbase. So it's really going to be bad, and we should build better solutions.
And we need to pay attention to that, absolutely, Michael. Groups like BACT, BAKKT, are working closely with government to try and regulate themselves as one of the on and off ramps that should only be the legal ways to do that. And one of the processes they're pitching that they fully tested is a completely offline, separate Bitcoin blockchain that they will maintain themselves in an off the books kind of way to manage those Bitcoins internally. And when I hear companies talking about this stuff, it just screams the Greek IOU.
Yeah, I mean, also, who's to know what regulations people manage? It maybe someone will figure out how to do fractional reserves on Bitcoin, where they say they're selling you Bitcoin and then they don't actually have those Bitcoin. That's entirely possible. I don't know the regulatory things and what would stop people from that, but you're always trusting a third party to actually have those Bitcoin.
John, is this the article?
I have no clue, man. 1 second. Yes, I
Yeah,
think
it's the
so.
same article.
Mercadolibre. Yep.
Yep.
Got it. Awesome. Yeah, Michael, I think that's an interesting story. I think these are kind of the tugs. Like, I think someone, I can't remember, I think it was Brad Mills, and he'd asked Michael Saylor about, like, his investment in predictive analytics or some type of like chain analytics type of company. It's like, at some point we know there's like some give and take here, right? Like, and what Bitcoin looks like in a fully mainstream society, and what cypherpunks perhaps envisioned in early 2000s or even in the 90s, perhaps with like DigiCash or something. So interesting. I think this is like kind of the given, the nip and tuck, if you will, and give and take of like privacy versus mainstream Bitcoin.
Well, even separately from the privacy, these banks are going to explain Bitcoin very poorly. And if we see what Square is doing, a company that's supposedly very Bitcoin positive, they're explaining Bitcoin very poorly. They're not explaining the bullish case for it. So it seems really unlikely.
They're presenting it as another financial instrument, like another stock, and I understand. Like, I totally get your frustration.
Yeah, I'm specifically the story of Satoshi Nakamoto, and it's problematic for several reasons. But the thing is, when these banks get into it, they are going to be using the words blockchain. They are going to say technology, and it seems almost certain that they will pump shitcoins, and they will see the same opportunity Coinbase sees and try to get people to trade into shitcoins, and then
Wait,
people
wait, you
won't.
saying that Cash App
Hold
is a
on, I
shitcoin?
thought.
I
Hold
said,
on a second. I barely use Cash App, but does Cash App allow?
no,
I don't think they said.
Cash App doesn't have shitcoins. I was saying they'll do the Coinbase thing.
I don't think so.
Yeah, but this bank, no, yeah. So this bank actually, if you listen to the podcast interview, the CEO of NIDIG, he did with the CoinDesk podcast like yesterday or day before. He was asked this question towards the end that are you talking Bitcoin or are you talking crypto? And he was very clear and a very interesting explanation. He said, the conversation is focused Bitcoin only. And he gave a reason that most of these banks, they look for some stable platform and systems that have run in production for a very long period of time. And there is no other platform like Bitcoin that has run for 10, 12 years. And the risk tolerance for these banks actually is very, very low. So, Bitcoin is
That's
the
not the risk
only in
to the
its
bank.
own category.
That's not a risk to the bank. This is the customer
No, it
deposit.
is risk to the bank. No, it is risk to the
Not the
bank. The
bank.
banks are, yeah, but Michael,
I'm not talking about the
banks
bank
are
putting their US dollars into
no,
other.
I understand that. Banks are highly regulated companies. They are probably one of the most highly regulated companies in the
Do
world.
you think that
So
the
the risk
regulatory
is,
laws will?
News
So
stories.
you think that the regulatory laws will be such that banks can allow deposits to be in Bitcoin, but not any shitcoins? I don't think that that will happen at a legislative level, a recognition of the differentiation between Bitcoin and.
I'm just trying to explain what the CEO of NYDIG told in the interview. That's all I'm
NYDIG,
saying. He was very
well,
clear. It's a
NYDIG,
Bitcoin only.
NYDIG is one
Hey guys, just because we're in
platform.
the Bitcoin news hour, not the Bitcoin debate hour, Michael, go ahead and make your last assertion here,
Okay,
and
I'll
we'll
just
try to move on.
NYDIG is just one way that a bank can offer Bitcoin to its clients. It could use any number of solutions.
Awesome. Trying to refresh the screen here.
I got.
While refreshing the screen, Alex, I'll let you jump in next. I'm just going to really quickly reset the room. We're at the Bitcoin news hour. We're just cheating off each other so we can get caught up on news. Hey, Shelly, snuck in there. We are. The name of the game is pretty simple, guys. If you've read a story, go ahead and change your avatar to the headline of that story. There was a Goldman Sachs story that I wasn't able to read about derivatives. I'm not sure if anybody read that. Covering that would be very much appreciated. Alex, go ahead, brother.
Well, this one's sweet and simple. Every day we're seeing it now. People making their best guesses. Ollie at it again over at CoinDesk talking about Bitcoin going to 1 million. Today I'm seeing Yahoo Finance reporting on that. And if you know anything about Yahoo Finance, they offer a lot of paid articles on there. So today they're reporting on several different people reporting on Bitcoin going to 1 million pre the next halvening. So it's just amazing to see all these platforms that previously spoke about Bitcoin going to zero, now all throwing their best guesses in for when we're hitting the million. This is the type of stuff I didn't anticipate until we hit 100K, but it seems that even the news teams are front running that.
100K, a milli. Anybody want to share thoughts on that prepaid news story?
I mean, I feel like we've been at a trillion market cap for a long time.
Fucking boring, man. We've been trading sideways too long. We gotta get some kick in this going.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of love it, kind of hate it, right? It's one of those things. A kick would be great.
I do need more time to.
Okay, we'll hold off for you then.
Sweet.
Shannon and Michelle, do you guys want to cover that story? I think it is the Latin. I'm assuming that's what you're recovering. The Latin version of Amazon, METROLIBRE or something like that. Is that
Yeah, I grabbed it, but if I guess Mav also has it. If Mav wants to go through it, I'll just add in anything we miss.
Yeah,
go ahead,
I
Matt?
did. Sure, I didn't PTR to it, but basically Mercadolibre picked up about 7.8 million in Bitcoin. Sorry, let me pull up the article again.
So one of the things in
But
the
that was mainly it.
one of the
Yeah, go ahead.
things in the article that was cool is the reason they did it is because they have a lot of holdings of other foreign fiat currencies that are losing value. They lost, I think it was like 15 million in foreign currencies. last year. So just a net loss of $15 million just from holding foreign currencies. So that's the reason they're putting Bitcoin on their.
Do you know if those currencies were Latin American currencies? Just because I know that is where there's been some really rampant
Yeah,
hyperinflationary.
the quote was just, we had foreign currency losses of 15.1 million, mainly attributed to the additional cost of assessing US dollars through an indirect mechanism in Argentina due to the restrictions imposed by the Argentinian government for buying US dollars at the official exchange rate.
Hot.
Argentina leading the way for Bitcoin again.
See, that's one of the cases, though. I wonder, that's where, I wonder if perhaps it's more foreign treasuries that kickstart this, right? There was, some sovereign funds, and then you had the oil billionaire out of Norway or Sweden a few weeks ago who wrote that eloquent letter. So I wonder if that's what kickstarts it, right? Where it just is more of a treasury management consideration, not necessarily just like a balance sheet acquisition kind of a statement. And I think when Michael Saylor speaks to it in those terms, it becomes a lot more clear. But who knows? I don't know. I'm waiting for Walmart. I mean, sort of
Yeah,
waiting for Walmart as an indicator, not like I care that much.
oh yeah, I was just gonna say, Michael Saylor's company, MicroStrategy, they lost a bunch of money in Argentina from capital controls, and he speaks to it when he talks about Bitcoin. So there's something kind of what's the word, like full circle, that another company's having Argentina capital control problems and getting the.
From now on, since they bought before Amazon, I'm calling Amazon the American version of Mercadolibre.
Yes.
Got him. Got him. Anywho, we'll keep going on with the Bitcoin News Hour. Welcome some additional people to the stage. Shannon, do you want to cover the Coinbase story? Because Coinbase sucks.
That was just the whole point of the story. Is I saw this headline and realized the reason they're losing so much money is because they trade altcoins and not just Bitcoin only. The companies that deal with Bitcoin only, they go up their number always goes up. The companies that deal with shit coins, they're not.
Man, I wish I didn't have to wade through shitcoins every time I want to buy Bitcoin on Coinbase Pro, but they're the cheapest in the UK, so I'll.
I think CoinFloor. I think you gotta look again, brother.
I think it's cheaper for purchases above $1,000 if you're super careful not to use their like auto sweep and auto this and auto that. Otherwise, you're paying more like 5%. But yeah, you're right. The break-even point's around 1,000 with Coin.
Hey, I've got this Goldman story, if anybody was asking about that.
Beautiful.
Yeah, it was me, Alex. I saw they were launching some derivative play, but I did not read anything that's smaller font than my grandma's favorite font.
Yeah, I got it. So Goldman Sachs is offering investors access to non-deliverable forwards, or NDFs, a derivative tied to Bitcoin's price that pays out in cash, according to a Bloomberg report. So it sounds like what they're going to be doing is buying, it sounds like the CME futures in blocks. So these are cash settled futures contracts where, if you come out ahead in the trade, then the diff between the actual price and the future gets settled in cash. So it doesn't sound like they're doing any new derivatives beyond what we've been seeing in the CME futures market so far.
Well, I want to be excited, but the fact that it's all cash settled is.
Yeah, I think you still have to, post Bitcoin as collateral to write one of these futures contracts.
Oh,
But
okay.
I agree. I'd much rather have it be Bitcoin settled than cash settled.
I know that's even worse, where you have to post Bitcoin and still settle in cash. It's like the worst of both worlds. Let me just, I suppose it's not really a Bitcoin contract otherwise, but yeah, it's just like the Robin Hood of derivatives, apparently.
Yeah, I don't trade futures, so maybe that's wrong, but that's my understanding.
I'm hardly the expert trader here, but
I see my favorite security engineer on stage here, Spencer. It looks like he's got a good one from our old or your old neighbor.
go ahead, Spencer, jump on in, man. Welcome to the Bitcoin News Hour, where we just all cheat off of each other. We're gonna cheat off you next, man. Go ahead.
So we have Kevin O'Leary talking about how he doesn't own any random ETFs with Bloodcoin in them, and he's talking to the fact that, or they're saying that X amount of Bitcoin is made in China, which for most of us know that all those numbers that they've come up with are extremely false. It doesn't dictate where a miner is, and not to mention Bitcoin's or a Bitcoin miner is much better to try to go for cheaper, sustainable uh, electricity. And, I'd be happy to buy some blood Bitcoin if I get it at a good discount.
Yeah, Kevin's at his fear monger.
Has anybody ever seen him and Portnoy at the same place?
Just if you really want to have fun with Kevin, just make boating accident jokes about his private keys for his Bitcoin investments. And
I'm just here trying to spur some investigative reporting, some citizen journalism. So, yeah, if anybody's ever seen those two human beings at the same place at the same time, please snap a photo.
I was excited that Kevin O'Leary got into Bitcoin, but I regret it now, dude. He just needs to stay away. Screw that.
I can see his
I
horns
didn't think
getting a
I
little
was.
bigger.
I didn't think I was. Yeah, I didn't think I was going to feel that way about Kevin O'Leary. I felt that way about Paris Hilton. I felt that way about
Oh,
Soldier Boy, but I didn't think like I thought like he's smart
Who was
ish
who
enough,
was Justin Sun's
but apparently,
girlfriend? The new girl on. She's
oh,
been
I don't
tweeting
know.
about Swan. What's her name? She's famous.
Then I definitely don't know.
Was it Miley Cyrus? No, it wasn't Miley Cyrus. It was the other one.
Paris Hilton was totally disappointed too, dude. Like Bitcoin's so.
And they're all getting charged for promoting unregulated securities, right? Like this is such a bad idea for these.
Do you think there's gonna be a bunch of celebrities like doing Martha Stewart time
Oh,
like
there
in a
there
couple of
already
years?
is, yeah. Conor McGregor and a bunch of them have already been ruled against and had to
Yeah, but that's not Martha Stewart time. Martha Stewart did some real soft time.
got to work on her tennis game.
And she came out branded with Snoop Dogg somehow. I don't know how that happened. But anywho, moving on. Thanks, Spencer. Michelle and B. There are two stories left. Otherwise, we will have the news 45 minutes and not the Bitcoin News Hour. Michelle, welcome to the Bitcoin News Hour.
Thanks. Well, initially I was going to mention the METROMILE because I thought it was exciting. They're going to pay out the claims, the insurance claims in Bitcoin. But I switched over because as soon as I got on stage, someone literally did that story. So the new one I have up now, it's from the Harvard Business Review. So I think that gives it a lot of credibility. And I thought that it's interesting. They're talking about the energy consumption of Bitcoin. And if you go to the bottom of that article, the bottom two summary paragraphs, it summarizes basically it's basically saying it's not an energy drain. It's saying it's important to understand that many environmental concerns are exaggerated or based on flawed assumptions or misunderstandings of how the Bitcoin protocol works, and that the actual negative impact is likely a lot less alarming than you might think. So, not super bullish, but I thought that was still a major step in the right direction as far as the energy fed.
Shannon, you want to chime in on the obvious? And thanks, Michelle. All right, so much for serving you
Sorry,
a
I
lazy
actually missed
fastball.
that. I
It
apologize.
was just it was a debunking of energy FUD supported by technocrats at Harvard.
Again.
Yeah, I guess I'd only seen the articles talking about the energy drain, but I hadn't seen any
Yeah, no, I
So that
definitely
was another.
go ahead, Michelle. Go ahead, Travis.
I was just going to say that's another article written by Nick Carter. He put it out a day or two ago. So it's him writing for the Harvard Business Review, and it basically goes over the same kind of points where he's addressing different ways that
Oh,
energy FUD has
thanks for
been.
pointing that out, Travis. I had no idea. I
Yeah,
know Nick's
he
written a bunch of really good articles, combating.
yeah, it's a good synthesis of his previous stuff. So it's worth a read. It's probably a good article to point to if someone's spouting off energy FUD. So
I know that FUD is coming up more regular than probably other FUD, but is it like, and maybe just because like I've solidified these arguments in my head around like brilliant people that have been able to that I've been able to synthesize, Nick included. But like, is it me or is like the energy FUD just becoming like the easiest to crush? Like
It's so easy to crush. The problem is that people are not actually interested in the
the
logic
new,
behind it or the
right? The
truth.
nuance.
I have yet to have someone actually concede the point and be like, oh wow, that's information I didn't understand. The best I can get is them saying, huh,
Oh yeah, dude,
well, I still think there's something wrong with it.
My commie sister like was able to buy into it a little bit. Like that she bought Bitcoin after we talked about it. That's totally anecdotal, but I think you're right on the whole P. I think you're right. I think most people are like not willing to get into the nuance and understand like the intricacies of like how it's actually part of the solution, but
But I get
yeah,
it though. I think a lot of, because a lot of it involves, or some of it involves, kind of changing for someone who comes from like a very liberal perspective. You really have to change your kind of underlying assumptions about environmentalism and kind of energy usage and to really get it. And so I think that's a really difficult leap for many people.
well, you also have to buy into the idea of the thing, right? Because it's like you also have to understand what it's doing, why the proof of work is important, and what Bitcoin is trying to solve, right? Because if you don't buy into the worth of it, then you don't give a shit about how much energy is being spent because it's all of it's too much.
Yep.
It's funny. So I've actually been having a conversation with a guy you'll see in these rooms from time to time. I don't think he's over here right now. He actually runs a hydro dam or is part of a large hydro dam in the U.S. And looking at trying to add Bitcoin mining as like one of their sources of revenue. And specifically targeting people with the concept of like, yeah, we'll be the green Bitcoin miner, and there's a green pool, and all this stuff. And it's interesting because the CEOs and the higher ups of the company, because they're that hydro dam, and because there's so much push for green energy type production or this net zero carbon footprint concept within the media in general, it's a really popular topic to talk about. And so anything that consumes a lot of energy is easy to just point fingers at without looking at the other side. And so I had a good discussion with them the other day, and then went to the next step and actually talked about how Bitcoin solves, the demand issue in markets. So Bitcoin, you can take a large amount of demand from like a hydro dam or anybody who produces constantly all the time, nuclear plants, things like that. You can consume a large amount of energy from them, but you can turn down and shut off when demand comes up that the grid needs. So let's say you have peaking generation online that goes down. So during peak hours of the day, air conditioners are running in Texas, and we have peaking generators go down. Well, Bitcoin miners can then turn down the amount of power they're using, or even shut off mining, and get paid for it by the other people on the grid. So it creates a way to load balance the energy market, load balance the actual distribution of energy, and then also miners create another source of revenue for themselves by being this load balancing mechanism. It makes more efficiency within the.
That's
I think
awesome.
that's why it's so easy to crush is because like not only is it just wrong, but it's actually environmentally friendly in certain cases, and it's economic and energy friendly as you just laid out there, um, uh, Shannon. But I think I still think like once you understand the argument, I think it's like one that I think is easiest to crush. But I think P is still right. I don't think people that come to it like what about the polar bears? I don't think they leave even understanding, listening, and looking at the facts in a rational way that they actually leave with that like understanding or level. Like I used to just come at it with the like argument of
Interesting argument.
well, I would just come at it to
Just
yeah,
kidding.
touche. Yeah, just shut up and let them believe me. Like I would come at it from a standpoint of like everything uses energy, right? And what's better than like sound money, right? And going into these like esoteric principle things, which I think are all true. But when you recognize like, oh my God, this like the economics of this drive renewables. The economics of this create opportunity. The economics of this like literally trap methane like flares that would otherwise just get like there's so much to this argument that like to me is like so crazy if you just stack the pros and cons in a really stupidly childish way. Where for a lot of other FUD, like you get into FUD like I don't know, Tether. And it's like, dude, most people like have never used Tether. Most people never will ever have used Tether. And like, they think of like this outsized impact, and I know we don't hear about that as much. Or you hear about like government bans. Most people don't understand how like the US government works, much less the game theory that goes into like geopolitical or boundless current, like borderless currency. So like, yeah, I think what I still believe is true. It's the easiest thing to crush in a logical debate, but I also think it's probably one that still washes over someone who comes to Bitcoin with that FUD or with that opposition. They probably still don't buy even the logic that's in front of them, sadly. Damn it, P, why did you point that out? I'm just kidding. Welcome back to the Bitcoin News Hour. I see a few more stories on stage. But yeah, I don't want to talk about Mark Cuban, so I'm going to censor this
Yeah, right.
conversation.
Frankly, neither do I actually. It's not even a piece of.
Well, and it's also like a month old,
All right.
um,
So he,
or a year
he and
old.
okay. Oh,
But yeah, go
all
ahead.
right. No. It's not. It's not worth talking about.
Why don't I jump to Aaron first, and then if we really want to talk about that, we can. Aaron, what's up?
Hey, it looks like Shannon and Sean may have talked about this already, so forgive me, I joined
No,
I
late.
I
can't.
just pulled it up because Sean didn't get to it. He had to drop off, so I was just going to grab it. If
Yeah, that's good. Did you guys get into it? Like, is this actually a thing? Does the blockchain or does Bitcoin network actually support regulatory compliant blocks?
so. Do you want me to, Sean? Are you?
Yeah, do you want to cover this, Shannon
Yeah,
or Sean? What?
yeah. It's just Marty talked about it today, but I mean, Shannon can probably definitely explain it better than I could. So if you guys haven't covered it already, go for it.
Okay, so basically, all that really happened was that Marathon, they mined a block, and in that block, they put in like the Coinbase message that it was OFAC compliant. So essentially, that means it's like a compliant money transmitter type block. But the deal is they did that by specifically selecting transactions that were KYC'd. And in doing so, they actually made less money than they would have if they would have just mined a normal block. So from my perspective, when I see them trying to make this like U.S. regulatory compliant block, all they did is make less money for the people who have value in their company because they literally earned less Bitcoin for trying to do this.
Shannon, do you mind sharing the like enormity of like the disparity of how much?
Oh, well, I don't remember.
Normally you're getting a Bitcoin. Normally you're getting a Bitcoin, and they only got about $2,500 on that block. It was less than $2,500. It was nothing, and normally you're getting a full Bitcoin. So $2,400 US is a far cry.
And that's the beautiful thing about the game theory that supports. You have miners will always go after the blocks with the most incentive, and so hopefully this is the cost of virtue signaling, and miners will realize that, and then they won't go for these supposedly regulatory compliant blocks, right?
But it also shows that it doesn't matter if some mining pools become regulatory compliant, because obviously there are other mining pools that aren't following these type of compliance rules that are making more money, doing better, and moving right along.
And there was also a point brought up by one guy there that whenever a block is added, it actually supports the entire chain behind it. So it's actually like acting against themselves when they're confirming the next block.
But yeah, I didn't even think about the fact that they actually just agreed that all the all of the transactions on Bitcoin that were used to buy drugs or do illegal crap with Silk Road were just confirmed in their.
Yeah, exactly. So they would, if they wanted to have a regulatory compliant blockchain, they would have to have a 51% of the network hash rate, and essentially reorganize the chain every single time.
And actually, Nick Carter wrote back on the tweet on this. He was saying, if are they only going to allow transaction fee and fees from whitelisted entities, or otherwise the whole virgin coin theory is rendered invalid. And then he talked about if they never move the coins to maintain their purity, the moment they transact, those coins are going to get commingled with impure coins. I'm basically reading what he wrote.
Yeah, so
So I was gonna say it's cute sending tainted coins to address, but they can spend them individually. They don't actually have to spend the dust that's being.
as a miner, if I was on their pool, I'd be pretty upset that I just lost a significant amount of money in that.
Well, I was just gonna ask, like, imagine being, imagine being a participant in that pool, and like the thing about it is, Shannon, can describe this better than me, but in 15, 20 minutes, he can move a bunch of servers to another pool, right? Like, the game theory here is pretty easy to see play.
No, I mean, depending on the software that the miners have implemented, it doesn't take much time at all. If you have zero software and you have to manually enter in every IP address and switch the pools, it might take a little longer.
But are you
But for large
competitive?
farms,
And like I was gonna say, that doesn't seem like that's like
I'm just saying
typical
it's
of a large,
feasible.
sophisticated operation.
Yeah, people with over 1,000 miners typically have proprietary hardware, and they can send it out to all of them, essentially with very little effort to say, hey, go to this Stratum protocol.
Yeah,
Yeah, and this just ties into the regulatory or the ESG narrative that publicly traded companies are held to now, because it's Marathon's pool. It's Marathon is the publicly traded company, and they're trying to pander to the ESG narrative from all their investors, right? So I don't see any other miners going to be jumping on board and adding hash rate to their pool.
So the documenting Bitcoin just tweeted, Marathon mined their first Bitcoin clean block that claims adherence to the OFAC standards. Bitcoiners then proceeded to troll by sending non-compliant Bitcoin to the address from sanctioned nations, thus making their clean block more ridiculous. So they're dusting the
it's
clean
so
block.
awesome. It's so awesome.
Wait, I'm sorry. Can you repeat that?
Yeah, it says Bitcoiners then proceeded to troll by sending non-compliant Bitcoin to their address from sanctioned nations, thus making their clean block attempt more ridiculous.
Oh, that's beautiful.
So yeah, because we could see the address that their reward went to. You could just send them dirty, air tag quotes, dirty.
Those Bitcoiners would love the Mensa room, P.
Hell yeah.
Since we have a few minutes before we wrap up the news hour, I'm sure people have covered this in the last few days. What the hell's going on with Taproot? Where are we? What happened?
I listened to Jimmy Song talk about it this morning. Basically, they have a few months to get it to happen, but during the period of a difficulty adjustment, so within those 2016 blocks, they have to get like 90% of the miners to signal readiness, and then it'll activate. They failed this first attempt, so this first 2016 blocks already had over, I don't remember, some percentage that was too large. So the first attempt has failed, but they have a few more attempts to try to get it done. And if it doesn't happen over the next few months, I don't remember. I don't remember how many attempts they gave. If it was 6 or something like that. But if they don't do it at that point, then they have to discuss if they want to try to go down the path of like a user-activated soft fork. So it's on its way.
See, I was wondering. I was reading something, and I don't know, Shannon, if you can speak to this or others, but I was reading that like some of this were just like folks just not being like on their shit and just like
No,
not getting some work
It's
done. Like not even
literally
necessarily like
The pools were just
it's
slow
literally
start.
miners not wanting to do their own job. They're just waiting for everybody else to do the job so they can just copy paste.
Yeah, but it's looking really good now. Like Alejandro from Poolin has his site going, and all the major pools have said they would be signaling.
How's
And
that?
I forget, I haven't looked at it for a
Yes,
couple hours,
according
but
to Taproot.watch, Antpool has F2 pool in.
Yeah, so it's just a matter
Oh,
of them
great.
doing the work behind the scenes to actually
Sometimes it's shit
signal.
like this that makes you laugh about Bitcoin, though, too, right? It's like, holy shit, this thing's worth $1 trillion. And it's like, a couple of like homies are like, yo, I don't really feel like doing it. It's just,
Well, it's
I
because it
understand that
doesn't.
this thing is, I get it. And I don't want to scare anybody here. And I recognize that this is like, like having a decentralized network with, limitless amounts of nodes. Like, I get it. I find this shit hilarious because deep down inside, you go and meet people one on one and you just realize like how fucking Bitcoiner they are. It's so funny.
The cool thing is how it's like it's not contentious at all. Like I haven't heard anybody oppose Taproot. Like no one's been like, no, I don't want to do it. It's just they're simply too lazy, or it's just not like it doesn't. It's not an emergency to make Taproot happen. So they got time. They don't care. They're like,
We should call out one of those tiny pools, freaking spider pool that I had never heard of. It's got like 0.5% or something like that. They're apparently too busy implementing an ETH node to be bothered with it. So screw those.
Oh God. Good. Are they doing a
hey,
full
that is a
archival
hell of a
one
lot of work
or?
and dedication.
That'd be funny if they were just like putting that out as a troll story, or like they just put that out themselves and like, yeah, like that's kind of funny if they are. Real talk. Sorry.
No, I was just making a joke about how I think what is it? There's only like 4 or 5 full archival Ethereum nodes in existence.
What?
All ran
And
by one.
yeah, exactly. I was just wondering if they're spinning up one of those because it's almost impossible.
Well, somebody tweeted
Versus
the other day
Bitcoin.
at current, like it costs like $134,000 now to stake for. Sorry, I'm trying to pull up the outro music, but for an ETH preferred node or validating node, and like it's just like this plays out the rich getting richer play for proof of stake more than you could have done probably for the last ever. It
So
is 4:58. I'll take some last commentary here at the Bitcoin News Hour,
I've got
but
a
I
uh,
want to eat dinner. So go
I've
ahead,
got a quick
Travis.
I've got a quick one. I don't know. Someone just sent this to me that the Winklevi has said that they're partnering with Resorts World LV to integrate crypto into their resort and gaming experience, whatever the hell that means.
um, I could one not argue though that it is actually important to get Taproot like implemented and adopted because that, if I understand Taproot correctly, it kind of renders Monero and like some of the other privacy coins redundant. Then in that case, it would then give you a technical advantage, right?
No, Taproot needs another update with SysAg, and then that you can probably make those.
Okay, I see.
And we all should promote SysAg for exactly that reason. SysAg, guys.
And Taproot or not, Monero. There you have it, folks. Monero sucks. Sponsored by Swan Bitcoin. No, I kid. Thank you all for joining. It's a little bit of a rough welcome back, especially since I still can't read the avatars that I am supposed to be introducing to you. But thanks for catching me up on news this past week. It did feel a little bit FOMO-y. Chris, if you're still here, I think you're still here. Yeah, there you go. Thanks for helping out all week. Monday through Thursday, 4 o'clock Central, 5 o'clock Eastern. We hang out here, we read the news, we riff-raff, and we get a little bit smarter without having to read it all ourselves. This is the Bitcoin News Hour. Thank you all for joining. We'll see you back here Monday. It's a quick announcement. This weekend is Mother's Day, so please don't be DMing me Sunday morning asking about church. Sunday's Satoshi service will be canceled, so you can spend some time with your wives, mothers, daughters, blah, blah, blah. Enjoy yourselves and have a great Sunday. Have a great Mother's Day weekend. This is the Bitcoin News Hour. Thank you.
Peace.
What a show, folks! Thank you to everyone who contributed and to everyone who listened in. Don't forget to join. What a show, folks! Thank you to everyone who contributed and to everyone who listened in. Don't forget to join Cafe Bitcoin by clicking on Cafe Bitcoin at the top left of your screen. And remember to find our full schedule of events at cafebitcoin.club. We hope to see you again next time for the Bitcoin News Hour.